Yesterday, I recapped a single week in Trump world and the volume of insanity, distractions, and division that a random 7 days produced. Today, I want to piggyback on that model, but instead focus on how truth in particular has become the greatest casualty. Now, if I try to catalog the lies of our president, I literally would be here for weeks, as it's estimated he has told nearly 40,000 lies since he first came to office. So instead, I'm going to once again focus on just 1 week last week, and I'll even ignore the baseless conspiracies he spewed and the credit he claimed for falsehoods, and instead focus on the 5 days last week where truth paid the price. The Smithsonian Museum of American History, who have an ongoing exhibit on presidential scandals, suddenly removed all references to Trump's 2 impeachments after reported pressure from board member and Vice President J.D. Vance. This rewriting of history is part of a conscious whitewashing of any negative retelling of Trump's actions and erasure of uncomfortable chapters to the MAGA crowd, including things like slavery and the genocide against Native Americans. Public broadcasting suddenly was shuttered. The feeling amongst Trump and the Project 2025 folks apparently was that government funds for treasures like NPR and PBS were a waste if they weren't mouthpieces for the presidency, kind of like TASS in Russia or its Chinese counterpart. In rural parts of America, news and information deserts will be the consequence for this. Yet another U.S. attorney was confirmed by the GOP Senate that denies that the election results of 2020 were legitimate. I want you to think about that. Consider that the top federal prosecutor in the nation's capital can either not tell the truth or is susceptible to believing invented fiction that over 70 courts unequivocally confirmed as to the election's legitimacy. Now, this confirmation, of course, happens in the backdrop of the White House launching a probe against Jack Smith. He, the then federal prosecutor, tasked with investigating, among other things, the insurrection. These are the legal priorities and the perversion of fact that constitute justice under Trump. And then we have, of course, the fiasco at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. On Friday, confronted with the jobs report that he found upsetting, Trump basically claimed the data was rigged, and he then fired the head of the agency that he appointed and was confirmed with overwhelming bipartisan support. The Bureau's data is internationally recognized as apolitical and reliable. For Trump to be right, you would have needed a vast conspiracy coordinated with hundreds of bureaucrats. It didn't happen. But this wasn't just a tirade from a man-baby. Think about the message that this sends. Clearly, the new head of the Bureau will be yet another Trump lackey who will be either unwilling or unable to deliver bad economic data, even if it's true, if he or she wants to keep their job. How will anyone going forward be able to trust any reports the once independent agency delivers? Imagine for a second if this happened in the financial sector. Can you think what would happen to a CEO of a publicly traded corporation who delivered invented corporate earnings to stockholders? The exec could be fired and be charged with fraud. But somehow, the entire Republican Party shrugs, looks the other way as yet another bedrock of legitimacy and normalcy is cleaved away. After the termination of the former Fed chair Janet Yellen, she stated the chilling reality of where we now find ourselves in America, saying, quote, "This is the kind of thing you would expect to see in a banana republic," end quote. It's a fitting description for the unrecognizable country where history is being rewritten before our eyes, institutions are vanishing or becoming political tools, and guardrails are dismantled. Now, Trump's transparent if nothing else. He talks openly of his admiration of dictators and his distaste for democracy. But that his entire political party has bent the collective knee to his assault is still something that I cannot reconcile. If we lose the ability to even trust our government or the institutions that were created to ensure their transparency, where, my friends, are we as a nation?